Welcome to the Jay Kim Show, Hong Kong's first dedicated podcast on investing in Asia. Join us as we survey the land and discover the greatest companies and most profitable investment opportunities in Asia. If this is your first time listening, thank you for stopping by. This podcast is produced every week with the goal of providing actionable insights to you, the listener, with every single episode. And now, on to the show. What's up, podcast listeners? Just a quick announcement for you before we get into the regular weekly episode. So just recently, we featured Cheryl Mack on the show in episode 109. Cheryl's the CEO of StartCon, which is Australia's largest startup and growth event that is taking place at the end of November down in Sydney. As part of their event, they're hosting a pitch competition with the grand prize being a $1 million investment term sheet from Right Click Capital for the winner. This is by far the largest pitch competition I've ever heard of in Asia, and all startup founders will have the opportunity to showcase their business in front of judges, other startup founders, entrepreneurs, and investors in one of the 14 cities across Asia Pacific. All you need to do is apply. The finalists from each city will then be flown down to Sydney to participate in the pitch for the $1 million grand finale in front of thousands of guests. Now, I'm happy to announce that my company, Explorer Equity Group, has been selected to be the local partner of StartCon for the Hong Kong regional final, which will take place on October 16th at Campfire's collaborative space in Taikoo. We'll be working together with the Startup Grind team, which you guys know I'm part of here. So I'd like to invite all startups or startup founders or entrepreneurs or anyone involved or interested in the startup ecosystem for that matter to join us at this event. In addition to seeing the best pitches, you'll also have access to top startup founders and investors, and we have a few exciting keynote speakers planned as well. For more information, head on over to www.startcon.com/pitch, and you'll be able to scroll down and click on the Hong Kong event page. We'll have it all linked up in the show notes as well, and I hope to see you guys there. All right, let's get on to the show. This week's show guest is Zhang. Jack is the co-founder and CEO of Airwallex, a multinational cross-border payments platform. The Melbourne-based fintech company has recently raised a Series B funding round from investors including Tencent, Sequoia China, Hill House, and Horizons Ventures. This also happens to be the second largest funding round in Australian history. So Jack, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So for the audience listening in, why don't you give us a little bit of background of yourself? Where did you come from? What did you sort of study, and how did you become an entrepreneur?
I guess I founded the company Airwallex about 3 years ago, end of 2015. Since then, we're growing the company from 4 people to over 140 people within just close to 3 years at a time. So it's quite a
wow.
Dramatic experience, to be honest. Myself, I went to Australia when I was sort of 15 or 16 years old to study high school. Then I went to Melbourne Uni, and after that, I sort of work, in different jurisdictions like London, Hong Kong, Beijing, and Melbourne, pretty much in investment banking or financial service industry. My last role before I founded Airwallex was a solution architect in ANZ's sort of FX front office. So I'm managing, a design sort of technical product and solutions, from a FX pricing and risk management and trading perspective.
Okay. So you do have a background in technology.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah, right. Okay, cool. I was just I'm just curious to hear how, and you're from Hong Kong originally?
No, I was born in Singapore in China.
Okay.
So I work here. I worked in Hong Kong for just under a year. Early sort of 2010s, 2011s.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, so originally from China, but you kind of were educated in Australia. And you have sort of global experience, also financial and technology background. So what was it exactly along your journey working at, I guess ANZ was your last sort of corporate job that you did? What was it that came along that made you come up with the idea to start Airwallex, or was it a personal pain point, some experience that you had that you realized, hey, I can come up with a solution that's better for this problem?
So my co-founder Max at the time runs a cafe business and a retail business. So are also an investor in that business, and he would importing a lot of materials and packages from Shenzhen in China. Obviously, need to do Aussie to US payment to the suppliers, and both of Max and the supplier complain about it because Max have to do Aussie US conversion, and I think at that time about $15,000. Then Max was recommended to use Western Union, and they charge them about I guess 600 Aussie or 400 US at the time, and then the suppliers
Wow.
complain about it because they it's very hard for them to do the US to CNY conversion and moving the money back to China. There's a
Right.
lot of compliance issue and a lot of cost issue as well. So they a few times they complain to me and they just ring the bell that it is a big pain point, and we spend a bit of time to investigating, what can be done in the cross-border payment industry to facilitating business grow globally, and to fix all these pain points to make the business kind of growing cross-border faster and scale faster. That ultimately become the vision of Airwallex.
Wow, that's very interesting. So, is your friend still working on his own startup, the one that you invested in?
No, no. So that was my co-founder Max, which
Oh, okay.
then I think when I told him, basically I want to do Airwallex, and I think we're solving a larger issue, and it's more challenging, and it's probably going to help more people, helping more business to expand their business. Going from offline to online, going from local to global. It's such exciting opportunity and vision for him as well. So he decided to join me to do Airwallex instead of that coffee business. Uh,
Right.
so yeah, then he hired professional managers and to do that, and we all sort of obviously he left to start Airwallex with me.
Right, right. Wow, very interesting. A pretty cool story on how you came across, helping your friend out solve his problems, and then you decided that, hey, this is a problem that is probably global. People globally are experiencing the same problem. So I have a business here that I can build that can solve this. So why don't you tell us about Airwallex? Just a brief overview. First of all, Airwallex, I suppose is it have something to do with wallets? Is that how you came up with the name? Is there any significance to the name?
No, so I mean, the wallet thing is just basically a multi-currency account, right? So we changed the T of the wallet to X. So basically that means multi-currency.
Okay, got
And
it.
because everything is virtual and it's online, so that we put an air in front of
Right.
Wallex, and that's how the name came about.
Okay.
And I guess the actual fundamental product we're offering is not about just wallet. Our vision is to build using technology to build financial infrastructure and applications to help the businesses to grow is potentially globally.
Right.
That is the vision of the Air Wallet. So basically, anything to do with how they move the money, whether it's cross-border receivable, payable, or FX, or it's accounts, we all have a set of product to solve that issue. Obviously, originally we had a very simple payment and FX product, but now I guess we're a much significant business. So we have a suite of product tailored for different type of user cases.
I see. Okay, so I understand the basic of the business model. So, what would be maybe you could give us a couple examples, like a practical use case. So, if let's say for example, I was running a business, sort of like your co-founders. Did you say it was coffee or?
Yeah, that was just a retail business.
Yeah, so let's say okay, so let's say I was a retail, just like a shop, a store owner. How would Airwallex help me directly? Like, can you walk us through that sort of user experience, from both the customer side all the way through like maybe a transaction?
Yeah, so obviously, the first thing you do is go on website to sign up. Then, because this is to do with money, so we have to do a standard KYC an onboarding process, just to understand,
Hmm.
what is your identity, what is the nature of your business, what's your ultimate beneficial owner, just understand a bit of your corporate structure or
Right.
company structure. And then once you onboard it, everything becomes straightforward. For example, if you are a Hong Kong business, you want to make a payment to a supplier in the US, and you can just create a single payment or a batch payment. Or if just wanted to do an FX conversion, then you can just basically book the deal straight away. And if you're using a standard bank in Hong Kong, the retail rate is about 1% to the mid market rate, and our entry point is 0.05%, so which is literally 50% discount from the bank from a get go. And
Right.
as the volume of your business goes up and transacting more and more with Airwallex, then you can enjoy a tiered pricing, which even more cheaper from a
Oh, I
cost
see.
saving perspective. But this is just on the FX part, but also from
Right.
a payment part. Because Airwallex actually built a global payment network that directly integrated into each country's local payment infrastructure. So we don't actually use Swift to clean the fund, which
Right.
means if you're using the traditional Swift network, you're paying $1,000. By the time the money arrives in the US, might become 950 or might be 970, depends how many correspondent bank in the middle. And the
That's
time
right.
to send the fund could be a day, could be 2 days, could be 3 days, depending on how many correspondent bank in the middle as well, right?
Yes.
So it's not a full amount delivery. It's that it's not a guaranteed delivery time. If it's any sort of intermediary bank, I'm not really sure what the money is for, and they might raising more questions to even slow down the process further. So it's quite a complicated experience, and it's been out there for the last 50 years, right?
Hmm.
But using Airwallex to do payment, we guarantee T+1 or T+2 arrival, and we guarantee full amount delivery. And because of the settlement is using local clearing, so we also have we're using machine learning and AI to do AML sort of transaction monitoring stuff. So the actual success rate of the payment is very, very high. It's actually above 99.5%. So it's very rare get a bounce back or anything. Also, we
Wow.
actually validating the recipient's account details before you actually even send the payment.
Hmm.
So you know if there's anything wrong with the account details or the name not matching with the account. So you know that beforehand.
I see.
And just from a both a cost and the user experience, and also the experience of the actual recipient, it's a much more I guess is a much better experience. And also, if you wanted to enjoy a real-time payment to the recipient, you can actually ask the recipient to basically onboard as a customer Airwallex, and all the transactions between these two parties can be instant.
Oh, wow, I see. Okay, so let's say we're counterparties. I'm in the US and you're here in Hong Kong, and if we're both customers of Airwallex, then you can send me money, I can send you money instantaneously.
Yes.
Wow. Okay, that's pretty impressive. So as far as is it a like how what's the technology like? So let's go back to the retail shop example. Let's say I'm a retailer, sitting here in Hong Kong, and I want to send money, and I want to sign up with Airwallex. What is that experience like after the onboarding? Let's say we pass the KYC and all this stuff. Is there a sort of front end that we have to just download into our sort of our systems?
Yeah, it's just all web based, and,
Hmm.
and everything is just on web or mobile, and you can just use like an internet banking application. And for the slightly larger businesses and corporate or institutional multinationals, we would have API so that you can integrating our product into your financial system, accounting system, or CRM system or ERP system, depends on how you want to automating the product.
Right.
So we basically depends on the need of automation. It also depends on how large is your business, and then you can choose whether using API product or web product.
I see. Okay, that makes sense. And as far as I guess this would be the revenue model, but if I were to sign up as a customer, how do the fees work there?
So, if you're a small business locally in Hong Kong, when you sign up, standard fee we're charging for FX is 0.5%, which is 50% discount from the retail banking world.
Mhm.
If you, I guess, larger business and you can bring our BD, try to negotiating, a tiered sort of pricing. And for the payment perspective, I think our standard pricing was, only 30% of what the bank charging for Swift.
Right.
We also guarantee full amount delivery, and within one day the funds will be arrival to the recipient as well. And if if the recipient is on board as Airwallex client as well, all the transactions actually on the payment side is free. We only charge on the FX.
Ah, okay. So you don't actually charge like a subscription fee or anything like that. It's just a spread on the FX.
Well, it's actually not a spread because we actually giving interbank price to all our client.
Oh, so it's just a flat rate, basically.
We just charge you a service fee, which is point something percent.
Right.
That doesn't matter how volatile the market is, and we guarantee you get the best price in that transacting second, and we give you that transparency fee model, so you don't have to worry about how much I'll get charged because you always get the best rate, and what we actually transparent about you is what you actually paid.
Ah, interesting. But for that's basically that's all you charge the customer. Like, there's no sort of subscription for the technology front end or anything.
Yeah, you can do spot, you can do forward. For a lot of the online businesses, we actually offering guarantee rate as well. You can guarantee for 5 minutes, 15 minutes, hour, 24 hours. If you're airline, you might want to guarantee for 3 hours. If you
Oh, I see.
sort of e-commerce website, you want to guarantee for 24 hours. So basically, we manage the entire currency risk for the website for your business as well through
I
the
see.
API. And when you actually need to do settlement, and that through the Airwallex network will allow you to do clearing as well.
Huh. Okay. Well, this is quite an interesting concept. I think it's pretty novel, and especially in, as you mentioned, in the antiquated system of Swift is over 50 years old, and so I mean this is definitely one of these things where it's kind of like, oh, I'm curious as to why uh, someone hasn't discovered this before you, but it sounds like a great and very innovative solution. So tell us a little bit about your reach right now. Where, how many customers do you have? Where, in what parts of the world? And what are your main sort of target markets?
So I guess our go-to-market strategy was targeting those platforms in the last sort of 2 years. So we have really large customers like JD.com or Highguy or Ctrip, that sort of super large clients spreading
Right.
across between sort of Asia Pacific, Southeast Asia, and Europe and North America. And we in a sort of process of scale in each of these markets. From earlier this year, we also launched, as basically start targeting smaller businesses, especially SMEs in Hong Kong, Australia, Singapore, these sort of APAC jurisdictions, and look forward to kind of expand to UK and Europe as well. That is sort of how it works at the moment.
Right. I'm curious, Jack, as far as sort of regulatory and capital controls coming in and out of China, what sort of challenges do you face there? And does that continue to be an area of scrutiny, or have you guys basically figured out how to get around that?
So first of all, the limitation around capital control is on personal remittance. So you'd
Hmm.
have a single transaction of 5,000, a daily transaction of 10,000, and a yearly transaction of limit of 50,000 US
Hmm.
dollar. Right? This
Mm.
is basically people moving money in and out of China without any reasons, right?
Right.
Or you just have a personal reason. But what we're doing is, the money we're servicing and the client we're doing is more sort of trade based or service based or e-commerce or
Hmm.
travel, education, sort of digital advertising, logistics. There's a purpose of the payment, I guess. In that case, as long as you can providing the compliance data points electronically to the PBOC and also to the local bank that you partner with, there's actually no limitation of that transaction. That's how the e-commerce or even trade are done day in day out at the moment.
Right. So as long as you have the invoices and the supporting documentation, then that's fine. It's just on the personal level where they have the capital controls that are more stringent.
Yeah, but like I think, for example, there's, it could be e-commerce platform, they might don't have the invoice,
Hmm.
but they have all the data on the website. So sometimes they require that we actually integrate into the actual e-commerce platform ourselves, so we can have all the consumer purchase information, logistics information, as well as the product information, so that we can reconcile back to back, and we can, give the regulators extra assurance, and this is not just compliant with money laundering regulations, is also complying with local, I guess, regulations around sort of how to legitimately transferring money in and out of China based on the purpose.
Right. Right. Sure, that makes sense. Okay, so another question, which I'm sure you've been getting a lot of as of recent, and it's around the cryptocurrencies. And I mean, obviously, there's some direct competition with crypto, whether it be the likes of Bitcoin or Litecoin or Bitcoin Cash, or even something like Ripple, which is very very much in the same arena that you're playing in. So, what are your views on cryptocurrency? Do you view that as a threat to your core business, and how do you see it panning out in the future?
So first of all, as a legitimate cross-border payment platform, we don't touch any digital currencies. It's just
Hmm.
at all.
Right.
And we don't really see ourselves at getting threatened or competing with any credible platform. First of all, foreign exchange is, a daily transaction volume, $6 trillion market,
Right.
right? And crypto is, the whole entire crypto market, the daily transaction volume is a couple $1 billion, right?
Right.
So it's just completely different market size. And the way they're using crypto to transferring money cross border is just not viable for businesses, because there's a lot of volatility, there's a lot of liquidity issue. For example, if you want to make a payment to Philippines to actually using crypto change local currency, someone in Philippines have to buy that crypto, right? But what about if there's no one want to buy it? Then they have to take the volatility risk of the cryptocurrency itself, which is
Right.
just not acceptable to businesses at all.
That's right.
Even for individuals, for large transactions, they don't want to take that risk anyway. And also a lot of people using cryptocurrency to get around of that, the capital control issue you just mentioned about, which is completely illegal.
Yes.
So we're not really see much of a competition at all with cryptocurrencies. And
Right.
funny that you mentioned Ripple. I don't want to comment too much on Ripple network, but I don't think the volume is anything significant for us to be, I guess, aware of at the moment.
Right. Fair enough. And okay, so Jack, tell us a little bit about your future plans. I mean, you obviously congratulations on sort of the large Series B funding round that you did. Obviously all the sort of premier and top bespoke names of China and Hong Kong as well were joined into that funding round. So it's obviously proof that you're doing something right there. So congratulations, first of all. What do you plan to do with that money? What are your future plans of expansion?
Thanks, Jay. I mean, obviously, it's a very exciting time for us. So there's a couple of things we're working on. Is obviously, moving our global HQ to Hong Kong, as we have more and more exposure in sort of in China, Southeast Asia, and the Hong Kong local markets. I think it's a strategic movement.
Right.
So now I personally, reside in Hong Kong and building a team here. So we wanted to expand the team to at least about 50 people in Hong Kong before the end of the year.
Wow, fantastic.
Um, yeah, so it's just a very, very exciting time for us. And we also try to expand our team in China. We recently opened office in Beijing and Shenzhen on top of our Shanghai office. So
Hmm.
we're building a BD and customer service team in Beijing and Shenzhen on top of Shanghai. We also expanding our team in Singapore, London as well, and then we recently opened the San Francisco office as well. So now
Wow.
we have 8 offices around the world, with maybe to open our Tokyo office in Q4 this year. So there's going to be a lot of money, spent on sort of business development and global expansion.
Right.
And on top of that, we also expanding, spend a lot of money on R&D to further strengthen our technical capability and product development capability in our, I guess, main sort of R&D offices, which is Melbourne and Shanghai. So we have about 30 plus engineers and product people in Melbourne. We have about sort of 50 in Shanghai. So we just look at to further to expand both of the teams there. Um, and apart from Airwallex, we also wanted to sort of expand into the digital bank industry. So we will announce big news. Partner with a local bank in Hong Kong, basically a joint venture to apply the virtual bank together in Hong Kong. So that's going to be
Fantastic.
very, very exciting for us as well.
Wow, it sounds like there's a lot of exciting milestones ahead of you, and that's super exciting. I'm very happy for you, and we're I'm looking forward to tracking your progress because I think it's a pretty novel solution that you guys have come up with, and it definitely has the ability to basically scale globally. Well, Jack, thanks so much for your time. I just have a couple of last questions for you. I always like to ask entrepreneurs for one piece of advice for some of our listeners that are listening in. I mean, you obviously have a very diverse background, but you also spent some time corporate in banking and this sort of thing. There's a lot of people listening in that might want to have a piece of advice, maybe if they want to break out or try to do something on their own. From your couple of years as an entrepreneur, what piece of advice would you give them?
I guess it's everyone that spends more than probably 50% of the time at work, apart from sleep, right?
Mhm.
And I think to find something that you truly passionate and excited about, and you actually love about and you enjoy it with doing day to day is really, really critical for everyone's life. I think that the challenge is to spending time to really sort of think about what excited things, what excited you, what sort of thing is most important to you, from a work sort of perspective, and finding that thing to do. And if that's become an entrepreneur, or if that's doing a startup, or if that's working as a sort of professional services, or even a bank, or that's entirely up to the individual.
Mhm.
But if you do choose the entrepreneur path, I guess the timing and also the ambition and the vision of what you want to do, and also the team you put together is very, very critical. And but at the end of the day, you just got to give it a try, and that's the most important thing. You will find that you have a lot of things you don't know about yourself once you become an entrepreneur. You're discovering, the abilities you never thought about you have, and that just very, very exciting. And you become a much more, I guess, adaptable to anything that new, in any sort of challenges or any sort of environment, which is something I excited about, and I encourage everyone that if they thinking entrepreneurship or startup is something they're interested in, they should give it a go.
Yeah, absolutely. That's good advice. Great advice, Jack. And I think that that last point that you mentioned, is particularly relatable because most people, unless they step out of their comfort zone, they don't actually know what they're capable of achieving. And so, to really just give it a go, like you said, and step outside the system, and it's not easy for anyone. And I think particularly it's less so accepted in sort of Asian culture and this sort of thing. But the more that you sort of step out of your comfort zone and really and push yourself out there, then you can actually probably be surprised at what you can achieve, right? Last question, Jack, is where's the best place people can find you or follow you or connect with you and learn more about Airwallex?
I guess LinkedIn or Twitter was the best place to find me. So I use Jack Zhang, my own name, on LinkedIn, so it's very easy to poke me. Also, my you can follow me on Twitter. My username is AWXJACK. So AWX, which is the shortcut of Airwallex and Jack.
Hmm.
It's easy to reach me on that as well. Feel free to follow me and ping me messages directly and tweet me.
Fantastic. We'll have that all linked up in the show notes underneath the episode when it airs. Thanks so much, Jack, for your time and for sharing your story and obviously the advice. And we're really excited and best of luck with building your company and moving forward.
Thanks, Jay, for your time today.
All right. Take care. Bye. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. All the show notes and links can be found over at jkimshow.com. Come back often and make sure you subscribe, rate, and review. Don't forget to join us next week for another exciting episode of The J. Kim Show. I'd love to hear your comments. You can find me on Twitter at jkimmer, JAYKIMMER. See you guys next week. This podcast is brought to you by Hack Your Fitness, the high achiever's guide to getting ripped in under 3 hours a week. If you're anything like me, you're probably working a full-time job or jobs and trying to find time to balance family life, social life, and last but not least, fitness. Look, I get it. I'm a full-time investor and entrepreneur myself, and father of two. So how am I able to stay fit year-round without spending hours and hours in the gym killing myself on the cardio machine? After struggling for the last 15 years trying every workout and diet under the sun, I finally designed a system that allows me to achieve and maintain single-digit body fat for life in under 3 hours a week. Cardio not required. Head on over to hackyour.fitness and download my free 13-page guide that teaches you the simple science behind efficient fitness and smart nutrition and gives you everything you need to know to finally take control of your life. That's hackyour.fitness.